But I'm so impressed in how social media works completely different in China and specifically in Asia, and how people get involved. And also, there's such a huge movement health in general, traditional
Right.
health in China. So I think that's something really impressive. And that's an opportunity you should definitely take.
Yeah, it's so interesting. It's so interesting also to see how the people around the world react to stress and and to anxiety and all these things. And it's very fulfilling, honestly, to be able to help in all ends of the world, through
Yeah,
different languages and everything. Yeah.
yeah, one of the questions that I want to highlight is that probably we are not in the pandemic, in the COVID-19 pandemic, but I was also just reading my dear friend Yuval Noah Harari in his new book, Next Us or
Mhm.
Nexus, where he talks very on this pandemic of over information and how that is exhausting for people, how people is really information overloaded, and
It
that
is.
leads to so many social problems and health problems.
It is. And I'll give you the biochemical details to that. I'll tell you
Oh,
why it's actually
wonderful.
exhausting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we heard through science, through news, through all kind of different things that our brain is everything's chemical. So that of course will generate a chemical response in our bodies. So
Yes, yes, yes. And I know about the responses. So I think it's so interesting because once you actually understand those, it's so much easier to create a fitting answer. If you only know that stress creates more stress or that stress creates anxiety, that's true, but it doesn't really help you act right. And it's
no,
so much more interesting if you can actually know about the details and they're like, oh, so that means, for example, I can do this if I breathe in the right way, or if I move in the right way, or if I eat in the right way and everything. So this is so interesting. I love this and I love talking about it.
and
Yeah.
it's so
But
important.
yeah, by the way, before I forget it, my parents say hi.
Oh, oh my
I
gosh.
definitely have to
Thank you.
remember
Thank you
that.
so much. I was about to ask about them. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Dialogues for Sustainability, a program with the Sustainable Development Goals and the 2030 Agenda as detonated points to talk about daily things that happens to all of us. And we might wonder how to do with this, how to get more information. And I'm here. I'm your host, Roberto Juarez, aka Citizen for Sustainability. This program is possible thanks to our partners, Youth on the Future Global, Podcastle, and Go to Well. Are you a podcaster or you aspire to be? Discover Podcastle AI, the platforms that revolution recording and distribution of podcasts. Hello, citizens for sustainability. We're back talking about sustainability and the Sustainable Development Goals as a daily thing that matters to all of us. And today we're going to talk more about Sustainable Development Goals number 3, health and well-being. We talked about this a long time ago, and we continue and will continue to talk about health and how not only the pandemic teaches progressiveness and regressiveness on our health systems, but also in different habits that we have, how consumption and production is related to health, and how to act and take the best decisions as individual and collective. So for this topic, I have an incredible friend of mine now, and I want to introduce you all to a person, and not only that is changing the way that we approach to health, that is changing the way that people can get better solutions, that can get holistic solutions for health and not just this traditional way as we all know. So with me is here Fritjof and Nelson. Welcome to Dialogues for Sustainability.
I am so glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Oh no, thank you for being here. I know, and we met kind of recently. I think it's less than a year. But since the moment that we met and, start talking and discussing about so many different things, we made a click about
Right.
health, you know?
Yeah, it's been going back and forth. I think it was April when we met in Egypt, right?
Yeah.
And then since then we've been in constant communication, because I think what you're doing for a sustainable world, I just love your approach. I love your energy about it. And since I do have an experience or two about life crises, about everything which can go wrong in life, or which apparently can go wrong, I'm all there for helping people to get curious about why this actually is happening and what you can actually do about it. And so many people don't think that there's ways to get out of a down, or they feel anxious or depressed or whatever, and they don't know if it's ever going to end. They don't know where the way to go is, and I've seen so many ways in this, so I'm always glad to share.
Oh, and I know that you are part of this health holistic way to perceive and act, not only for adults but also for children. And I think that's really
Yes.
interesting because from what I know, you are also like a second generation, because your family, your parents have worked on child education in early ages, or specifically for children, how important it is to intervene in those ages specifically for children. We talk about next generations too. So how does this work, and how people can get a little bit more about this? What are you doing? Where are you doing it?
Right. Well, let me maybe first start off. Like the basis of where I come from is that me, starting with my parents and also my sister and my brother, we are running a group of psychosomatic hospitals, which means it's like if your mind as well as your body is having any sort of trouble, if you're either feeling depressed, but at the same time, maybe your digestion is off, or you're always having constant headaches, or your immune system is acting up, and all these things, they're heavily interconnected. And we're helping them in like a holistic way to overcome those crises. And we've been doing this for quite a long time now. And I think like we've helped about, 20 to 30,000 patients so far in the last 20 to 30 years. And we have a lot of experience in this area. And now, since we do have all this experience, we're starting to slowly beginning to transform all our knowledge to the preventive area, because we've seen so many people suffer so much. And I could every year open another hospital and it would be full, because the demand is so high.
Yeah.
But we also believe that we have to help people learn from all those experiences, from all those people who were going their way with us for a while. And we've been doing this in schools. We've been doing this in many different areas and topics, but mostly we believe that if our teachers and our children are healthy, and also if we help the parents to understand what they actually should do or what they are capable of doing for the next generation, then it will just be a tremendous help for the next generation. And this is just, I think, very, very important, because like transgenerational either traumata, which are like really like coming from war and poverty and all these things, but also we're always saying like backpacks, transgenerational backpacks. You always get something from your parents, and the thing is, can they actually be a role model to you, or are they more or less something that is suffocating you in your life, and how to turn these things around, and it's just, I think it's so interesting to talk about this, but also not just on the psychological level, but also to look at it from the standpoint of your own body. Like what happens actually when you're stressed? What is happening in your body? How do you cope? Why do you feel sad sometimes? I think this is very important, but even more so, it's so interesting. So yeah, that's what I always talk about.
Yeah, and I love the way that you mentioned it. There's two key words that caught my attention, and one of that, it's doing things slowly, to go slow. Our society, everything goes faster. Everything is to do it immediately. Everything is for the moment, and we might forget to be there to really enjoy what's happening around our life, either if it's a good situation or probably not really positive situation, but also be there, be present. And another key word that I love to introduce to this talk is productivity, because when we talk on the Sustainable Development Goals, is to change the way that we consume, that we produce, and how this whole model of capitalism or consumerism is affecting us all of us, and not only this generation, but as you said, that backpack that we heritage have a lot of trauma, and that consumption model that is keep faster, and it's not a problem to go faster, but what are the effects for the generation of going faster?
Yes, they are. I mean, let me tell you a way of how to be productive and healthy at the same time, because a lot of people think it doesn't work, but it actually it does work. But there is a certain game rules you have to play with, and I think for that to understand or to follow those rules, if I may take a moment, I would just love to explain a little bit how our body actually reacts to stress, what that actually means, and how we can actually use this for productivity and something good, because most of the time stress is a very bad word, and it's related with something that might be dangerous or something that might get us off our track, but stress is actually something very, very wonderful. Invented by evolution before, but there's different kinds of stress. And the thing is, I think most important, I'm raising my hand here right now, I see. I think because I did this.
Yeah, right? I think, yeah.
There you go. The thing is, if you imagine that there is a tiger running at you, and you're not in a zoo, I mean, it's right there, then you should probably act fast, right? You should be in a second, you have to make a decision, you either fight or you run away. And for this, we have two different nerve systems in our body. One is the sympathetic nerve system and one is the parasympathetic nerve system. And the sympathetic nerve system is there for action, if you need it. And it's a fantastic system. So, because if there is a tiger, it will help you to create energy extremely fast. And this is what you need in this moment, right?
Yeah.
And it's kind of from one molecule of glucose, just so you have an idea, it can create 2 ATP, it's adenosine triphosphate. It's something like the dollar or the euro, or it's kind of like the equivalency of the money you can spend in your body. So this is what you need, and you get this really, really fast, so it's fantastic. So let's assume you kind of run away from the tiger, and you go up a tree, and you're safe. After that, your body is switching again to the parasympathetic nerve system. And this system, it's 100 times slower. So it's really not good if there is a tiger, But from one molecule of glucose, it will give you 36 ATP. That's 18 times more energy than you get when you're in a life-threatening situation. Now, of course, many people will argue that there are not that many life-threatening situations around here anymore, right? And yeah, that's for most of the people in many parts of the world true. It's not true everywhere, but for many parts it's true. But the thing is that since you just said the world is moving faster, and in our mind, it's sort of like you don't know whether or not there is a tiger. And if your mind is in a state like that, it will always choose the sympathetic nerve system.
Yes.
So it's kind of like you can to make a metaphor which is easier to understand, you can think it's like you're driving a car and the first gear, it reacts really fast, right? You go on there, and if there's something behind you, you get away really fast. But the first gear is only to start out. After that, you need second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth gear, right? But there's no access to this anymore. Because if you're on the one side, you only have first gear. So you create very fast, very little energy. And this is actually one of the big reasons why people who are in constant stress, after a while, they're not only tired, but they start to have, for example, digestion problems. They start to have like allergies and all these things, because the body is reacting to this. And if we don't find a way to go to the parasympathetic nerve system, you'll always be agitated all the time. So if you want to actually be productive and healthy at the same time, you need to find ways how to get a good rhythm. There's nothing wrong with going really fast and going against the tiger, and having stress. But first, it depends on what kind of stress you have. And second, it's how you can actually regulate your body afterwards. So one question, if there is a tiger, how do you breathe? What do you think? It's like, oh my God, there's a tiger, right? So you're up here, and you're breathing like very fast, but very short. And once you're on the tree, the tiger is gone. What do? You're like, finally made it. Now, what's the difference? And this is one key takeaway. If everybody listening right now doesn't take anything else, only this, then I'd be really happy already. We inhalate not as much, and we exhalate more. It's like breathing out is the best way to activate our parasympathetic nerve system. And this is what a lot of people don't understand. And you don't even need to do tons of meditation. You don't even need to do, like a retreat or every day so much. You can do it for 3, 4, 5 minutes. You breathe out longer than you breathe in. And only by that, you will understand that you're kind of tricking your body into accepting that the tiger is gone. And this is what we need, especially since there is so much coming from everywhere, all around us. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. It does make sense. There's a lot of trends right now. And I wanted to ask you that there's this trend on social media, specifically in TikTok, where people, focus more on their breathing, and not only during your day activities, but also at night. There's people, taping their lips so they improve their respiration and stop snoring and, different things. And I believe that's getting more conscious about the real effects and impacts that breathing have in our lives.
It is, but at the same time, it can also create a lot of anxiety. Mm-hmm. Because if you start measuring many things, your prefrontal cortex, like the part of the brain you use to think about stuff and to measure stuff, this is very much related to the system which is in the sympathetic nerve system. So, for example, if you want to see your blood pressure, your heart rate variability, or the way you sleep, and you're always focusing on it, it kind of prevents the thing that needs to happen from happening. So it's like and the thing is, you start getting worried, for example, that your blood pressure might be high.
Yes.
Well, what does your body do when you worry? He again sees a tiger and he will raise your blood pressure. So I think all these trends, if you're in a very specific environment and you're training for something, or you're just curious, these are really interesting things to do. You can absolutely do that. But if you are feeling that you're anxious already and you don't know which way to go, then these things might make you even more anxious, and this is not the way you might want to go, I think.
Okay, then I think that's also really, really important, because we were talking about this word productivity. People, in at least kind of a way that it's presented through the younger generation, is you will sleep better, you will be more productive, you will wake up, really energetic and really rested. And sometimes, and I think that's a problem with a lot of people, you sleep 8 hours or more than 8 hours, and you wake up exhausted.
It is. And maybe if you want to, I can walk you through why you actually wake
Oh,
up
please,
exhausted,
please take
because I
us.
think it is so interesting, and a lot of people do
Please
not really
do.
understand what is actually happening. I might have to throw in one or two more neurotransmitters or something, but they're easy, and I think it's fun to actually remember them, and I think most of them are actually already known by a lot of people. The thing is, let's start with a healthy day. If you have a good day, a good day doesn't mean just sitting on the sofa. A good day actually means you are productive. You're doing something with a meaning, you're doing something like you're doing. You can be tired in the evening. This is absolutely okay. But usually when you do something you really like, then your serotonin levels will rise in the evening. Serotonin makes you feel good. It makes you feel happy. But there's something that serotonin does at the same time, and a lot of people don't really know this. It actually does two things. The first thing is it allows your brain to turn off. And this is so important. If your brain doesn't get the allowance to turn off, it will keep going, and it makes falling asleep so much harder. So a good level of serotonin will help you fall asleep, but then it does something else. It changes into melatonin. And you might have heard that melatonin is called sleep hormone, right? And melatonin will help you during the night to clean up, to process all your thoughts, to make sure that every metabolite, everything you created, you kind of made yourself dirty inside, and you just have to clean up again, And this happens through the night. So it's not just the amount of hours you sleep. When you're drunk, you can also sleep 10 hours, but it won't be very nice to wake up, right?
Yeah.
So that means no melatonin. But then melatonin again does another thing in the morning, and now it gets really interesting. Usually, we all we originate in Africa, right? And we were sleeping outside. So what happens first thing in the morning, before or when the sun is just coming up? You don't see the sun, but the blue light starts to come, and it starts to get blue. And this part of the light actually destroys melatonin. And through this destruction of melatonin, our body gets another signal, and our cortisol, our stress hormone, it should be activity hormone. It shouldn't be called stress hormone. Our cortisol level can rise. And if it's rising enough, then you will wake up. And if the cortisol is enough, you'll wake up with so much energy, and you're like, where's the next tree? I want to go do something. This is the healthy way. Okay, now let's switch. Now you have a stressful day. And a stressful day in a way that you don't enjoy. So what will happen? First thing happening, you won't feel satisfied in the evening. And now you can walk the way all by yourself, actually, but I'm still going to walk you through, the serotonin levels, they're going to be very low, which means it's hard at first to fall asleep. If you fall asleep, you won't clean up as good. Plus, you watch a lot of cell phone in the evening with a lot of blue light in it. It already doesn't help your melatonin. And in the morning, you don't have, it's called the cortisol reflex. You don't have that anymore. So you put snooze, you put snooze, you put snooze. I was like, I don't want to get up. Why do I have to get up? So the next day is starting in a less harmonic way. And now I would say, here comes the problem. It's just less harmonic. You can still get up. That's why we don't change anything.
Yeah.
If the next day would be disastrous, you would never do this again. But since especially when you're young, you're still able to get up, you can still do it. Yes, you can do that, but you're always putting more and more pressure on your body, and the energy you have will be less and less. And then just one more thing. I mean, there's many things, but one thing which I want to highlight at that point. When we are stressed, there is another coping mechanism that we use. We eat. Yeah. Most of the people eat when they're stressed. Why do we do this? It's a smart idea, because our jaws, when they move, they also relax us. Yes, they can do this. But the problem is, at the same time, you don't eat anything healthy. In the evening, when you're stressed, you're probably going to be like, it was a hard day. I really deserve this burger or pizza or
sugar,
whatever, any fat and sugary thing, which is, if you would move more, you would need less of those sugary things, by the way, but we're moving so little, so that we need this. And just to give you an idea, our immune system needs to go through everything that you eat. And this costs energy. Like one pizza, like a deep frozen pizza, which you're just heating up. Just to give you an idea, it means about 8 hours of immune system activation. So if you eat a pizza late in the evening and you're stressed and your serotonin levels are low, well, there you go. You won't have a good night's sleep, and the next day will start in a worse way. And then all the things, it's like a spiral, and will continue to go. And there's wonderful ways out of that spiral, but a lot of people don't understand it, and they keep consuming more in order to make themselves feel better. But this consuming is not what you actually need in that time. What you would really need is, as I just said, the way you breathe. Go for a walk without a phone. Do some sports, and not in a crazy way. There's people always going like, I do the next marathon and another one and another one, that might be at a certain point unhealthy as well, even though I'd say it's probably better than not doing anything, but still being active, being outside, being social with friends. This is so important, because you will like one evening with your friends will give you a sense of achievement. You're being loved, you're having fun, and this is something I really want to encourage everybody, especially if you're easily anxious. Don't throw your friends away. This is something like, if you talk about burnout and depression, this is the first thing we are throwing away. And it's understandable because there's so much going on, and it's easy to call a friend and say, hey, sorry, I can't make it to the cinema today, or sorry, I can't go out, there's so much going on. But friends are one of the most important things if it comes to our own health. And of course, our own family is important as well, but it's different. They are part of your very own system. So like as a friend, I could tell you, you look horrible. What's going on? Why do you look so horrible? If I would tell my wife, you look horrible. What's going on? You look so... That wouldn't be a good idea.
Social beings.
You know what I mean? This is like something friends can do that. You shouldn't do that to your partner. It's a lot more difficult because you're in a direct relationship, So, yeah. So this is like I'd say the first level of going through our body and what actually happens with us. And there is just no way to be productive if you're always stressed. And if I may, one more thing is happening. I think this is very important, especially for people whose jobs need you to be creative. And a lot of people like you're a creator, right? You're creating things. So many people are creating, it doesn't matter which area you are. Being able to think in an abstract way, to create and to make plans for the future. This is actually something that makes us different from animals. This is something like a dog cannot do. It's just not able to perceive time and to think in an abstract way. But we can. Why can we do this? Because we have dopamine in a certain part of our brain. And if you're relaxed, your liver, it will create, it's called tyrosine, and it will send it up to your brain to make dopamine, and you're able to think in a creative way. But if there's a tiger again, your brain tells your liver, I need sugar. Sugar, sugar, sugar. And the liver, it's like my own teacher, he always said, the liver is like a guy. He can do 500 things, but only one thing at the same time. It's not multitasking, So it's like, okay, I give you sugar. I'll do sugar, but you won't have any tyrosine anymore. You won't have any dopamine anymore. So if you're stressed, it's almost impossible to think creatively.
I love the way that you introduce us to creativity and also to productivity, and how important, is that social circle, that it's when we face anxiety or depression, it's that social circle that can take us out and support us not only emotionally and have this affect us, you know, in our bodies, but also the chemical part behind it, that it's so important to be conscious of, because we eat chemicals. We are chemical beings. So that chemical reflection is so important to really create that consciousness. And as you said, I think it's so important to change habits, but it's also a transition, because you cannot just change your friends immediately. You need to be really conscious. And we're almost running out of time. It's been already 30 minutes, and I love this conversation. As you say, that tiger running after us and chasing us, it might be an illusion that will live forever, but it's, as you say, through that consciousness, either if it's your job or your daily activities, is how you can be creative and have a healthy way that you can talk with your boss, with your friends, with your co-workers, and find a way to really have a healthy and happy life.
And if I can say one more thing, which to me is very, very important, the best thing you can do for the next generation is to take care of yourself. It's not destroying your own life in order to make one better life for the next generation. The next generation needs to feel safe by knowing his or her parents are okay. This is the most important thing. So it should be your duty number one to take care of your own life. This is the best thing you can do before education, before everything else for your child. If you are okay, then you're giving your child a huge world of potential.
Yes. And there's one thing that I would love that you share with us, the Eisenhower Matrix for effective decision making, how we can take this into our daily life, for closing words too.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the Eisenhower Matrix, for those who know it, it's just a 4-field matrix with like things that are urgent and not urgent, or important and not important, So we always say, like, if you're in this area, not important and not urgent, you shouldn't really be in that area, right? Still, consuming things like social media sometimes is. Sometimes it's not urgent and it's not important actually to do it at this point, right? Then there is things which are urgent but not important. Yeah, you should delegate those away. You can learn that, But health, everybody would agree that health is urgent and important. But everybody stops at having it being important. Nobody makes it urgent because we're so filled up with all those things in this category. So we always put it into the future, and putting things into the future means they will never happen. They were just not going to happen unless we really become sick and we have to do something. But the collateral damage will be so high that it just it's not worth it. And my own coach many, many years ago, he told me something which I believe is very important. He said, every day, take 15 minutes for your own health and well-being. At the time, then please every day make it 1 hour. We have to make it. If you don't have 15 minutes, if you don't have it, then you need 1 hour.
Yes.
And if you don't have that 1 hour, we've been treating patients for a long time. It's a possible process, but it's a long process. And the collateral damage is often very high. Your body takes a toll. Maybe your relationships are broken, and maybe your job doesn't work anymore. So I really want to get everybody curious about how great that would be if you just take out those 15 minutes every day to do something. If it's a walk, if it's a meditation, if it's just breathing or whatsoever. This is absolutely worth it.
Fritjof, it's been a pleasure always to have you here to exchange some words with you, to learn so many about health and how everything that you're doing, your family has been doing, and the impact that you're having in hundreds and thousands of people, really changing their way to experience life in a healthy way. Thank you so much. I take
Thank
this
you.
moment to also give a shout out to the World Future Council, which have published a lot of works and books, about this way to approach health and how we can also work it in different perspectives and countries. Please, Fritjof, let us know where we can find more information, the publications that your family have. Where can people reach out to you?
Yeah, I mean, actually, like the World Future Council kind of brought us together. That's how we actually met. And I'm right now together with the World Future Council working on a paper for mental health in young people. So that will be available in some time. Otherwise, since we're based in Germany, you might need a translator because I think most of the things are in German, unless I give interviews in English or Chinese or something like that. But we do have our homepage, which is Neltings-Welt, it's WEALT.de for Germany. And I'm, of course, glad if people are reaching out for us. For those who speak German, we do have a podcast here and everything. But I myself am on stage a lot, also doing it in English. Or, as I mentioned before, since my wife is Chinese, we're doing that a lot in China, actually, as well. So that's been pretty much fun.
Wonderful. Hold on, because I think it's gonna cut, and then we can go back to the link so we don't have this abruptive closing. So let's wait so it finished, and then